the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
In your packet tonight, you have the warrant, and if we could, we have representatives of the Water and Sewer Department here, so if we could take up Article 11, 12, and 13 first,
Okay.
and Article 11 is a charter amendment, and what that would do would be to change water and sewer commissioners from elected to appointed. And the way that would work is if town meeting voted to accept this amendment, it would have to be on the next town annual election, which would be April next year. And if the voters voted to make it appointed, it would be an appointed position right immediately that day. So if this is voted at town meeting, whoever gets elected this April would serve until, if this happened, until the election next April, or if it's voted down at town meeting or at the election next April, they'd serve their term just like they normally would.
Okay. Just real quick, it may say in here, I haven't had a chance to look at it, but who do the appointment, the appointing?
The Board of Selectmen.
Okay. Okay. Is there anyone here from,
Bob Kimball from the Board of Selectmen and Diane, chairperson of the Water and Sewer Committee.
okay. Have the boards taken a position on these for the selectmen and the,
Evening.
good evening.
We haven't taken an actual vote. We did ask that the warrant, the item be put on the warrant. This isn't the first time, obviously. We've done this in the past. It is my belief, and I can't speak on behalf of the board, but it's my belief that, the department, which is an enterprise account, should be controlled, under the control of the town manager. The daily operation, financing, everything should be directed underneath the town manager's position. We went back and we took a look at, the number of years that it's been an uncontested race. In other words, we've made appointments along the way ourselves, the Board of Selectmen, in conjunction with the Water Sewer Commissioners have had to make some appointments. But go back all the way to 2006, and all the years between 2006 and last year, there's been one contested race in that period of time. So 2006, 7, 8, there were no contest. 2010 was one in 2011. We have a number of them here that were one-year appointments to fill the seat until the next election. 2013, there was no candidates for the position. And 2015, again, we have a one-year fill. So basically, the reason the board is looking to make this position appointed is to give more responsibility to the professional town manager and have him or her be responsible for the daily operations of the department. The argument could be that, we're taking another elected position away, but again, based on the history of what's happened in the past since 2006, which is the last 10 years, there really has only been one time when the voters had a choice as to who they were going to vote for. So, general information. Again, I can't say too much because the board really hasn't taken a position on any of the warrant articles at this point, but we did ask for it to be put on the warrant.
And are there any unfilled positions on the commission?
No, there are three members right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amy?
Mr. Kimball, do you know if there are any multiple people, anybody running this year in the upcoming?
Yeah, I believe there's three took out papers.
Okay.
I want to say 2 to return them, but there is a race this year.
Okay.
There is a race for it, so.
Bob, what's the advantage of increasing the members from 3 to 5?
Well, it would be, I believe it would be a charter change, first of all, which means it would be a lot more involved in making the change. If it was an appointed position, the Board of Selectmen could increase the workforce, but under the charter, I believe it would actually have to go to pretty much the same philosophy. It would have to be town meeting vote and then probably a ballot question in order to make the change. Is that right?
I didn't hear his question, but can you emphasize that it goes from 3-member to a 5-member board also?
That's what he said.
Yeah.
That's what he
Yeah, okay.
Sidebar.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Any further questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Any discussion from anyone in attendance on Article 11?
Okay, I'm Diane McElligott. I'm the chairman of the Water and Sewer Commission.
Welcome.
Thank you. So I'd like to state our position on this. This comes up it seems every few years. I think the last vote was in 2012. So this is not an unfamiliar thing. Now, where I'd like to start, and this is for the benefit of everybody in town as well, is that the Water and Sewer Commission has a different source of funding than other town boards. We're a public utility, and so we're funded exclusively from the bills that we send to the water and the sewer customers. We're responsible for fire protection, for clean water supply, for sanitary sewer collection. And we collect all of our operating budget from either fees or rates that people pay, which is in contrast to the other town departments, which are all funded by property taxes or state aid as it comes down from the state. So it's a big distinction in where the money comes from, and there is value in keeping the two boards, the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Water and Sewer Commissions, separate. It's in the Mass General laws that the Board of Water and Sewer Commissions, for those towns that have organized that way, basically are equivalent to the Board of Selectmen as far as what their powers are to raise a budget, manage a budget, and spend a budget. We're also constrained because we're a utility and because public safety and hygiene is a big part of what we do. We're highly regulated. We cannot overcharge fees. We cannot undercharge fees, especially now that we're an enterprise organization, which was supported by the FinCom and by the Selectmen several years ago. That we have no exchange of funds between, the town side and the water and sewer side. We collect our own budgets, we do our own accounting for it, and everything is very transparent to both the ratepayers and anybody else in town who may not be on sewer or who may have their own well water. Where exactly our money is coming from, where it is going, how we're building our reserves, what our long-term capital plans are, and we've been doing a good job over the past couple of years of managing these. Our water rates and our sewer rates are right in the middle. If you poll other towns in the area, they're significantly lower than Taunton for water. They're lower than Foxborough, which is about the same size sewer system, by quite a bit. We've managed to put into place several important capital projects over the past few years with no additional cost to the existing rate base. That includes the about a $5 million lift station in the center of town. That includes it's a $50 million wastewater treatment plant expansion project that's part of the newly formed regional district for Mansfield, Foxborough, and Norton. And these are just some examples. We've got a water treatment plant to take care of finally the brown water in town. That again is planned in such a way that the rates are not going to spike up. And this long-term steady management is typical of towns that have an independent water and sewer commission, whereas other towns that have a combined DPW with it, it's too easy. When there is a 50-year lifespan of any underground infrastructure, if you have a bad year of snow, like we had 2 years ago, to reduce the contribution to the reserves, to not fund a planned water main expansion or a water main replacement project, because that infrastructure is underground. It'll probably make it another year, it might make it another 5 years, and it's very easy to defer that maintenance. And other towns in New England and in Massachusetts and our neighboring towns are seeing the consequences of kind of robbing Peter to pay Paul by not prioritizing the activities of the utility and the funding for the utility to be dedicated right to the utility. So from a financial perspective and an accountability perspective and a long-term planning, we're supportive of remaining independent. As far as what Mr. Kimball's comments were about few contested races, and perhaps a shortage of candidates who are willing to run. That's not going to change by making the position appointed. We also should have a little more faith in the people in town. I mean, we have 19,000 people in town. It's growing. The base of professionals is growing. Right now, we've got an excellent board. It's probably a kind of a dream team, right? I'm an engineer, I have an MBA, I understand finances. We have a business owner who understands underground construction, the permitting, the laws of hazardous waste disposal, everything, underground construction. And we've got a senior water operator on the board as well, who understands the EPA and the DEP and the need for responding to emergencies in a fast time. So we complement each other. I have no doubt we've got a contested election this time around. I can say the selectmen's races have not been contested in recent memory, going back 10 years. And that in and of itself is not a good reason to change the commitment that a board member has to make. In order to run for election, you have to plan ahead. You have to be willing to go out in February and go door to door and collect signatures. Public speaking is an asset. Maybe I'm good at this or not a good example of this, but in order to run for office, you really have to be committed. We nominally have 2 meetings a month, but such as tonight, this is a special. We participate in budget discussions. We have short notice meetings. We have a heavy workload sometimes and have to do them every week. And our meetings are not an hour and a half long. They go from, we start at 6:30, we often end after 10 o'clock at night, and it's, we have about perfect attendance at our board meetings. And so we are a strong organization, and if any one of us decides not to run for re-election, or in my case, gets beat out by a contender, it's fair and square. And I think that we would still have the ability to have a strong board, regardless, just because you have to prove to the people you work for. And I work for the water customers, and it's a separate budget, and I work for the sewer customers. I don't have to worry about if somebody disapproves, if the selectmen disapprove of something, or in the Industrial Development Commission disapproves of something that I do. I know that I'm doing it within the law, to the highest standards of ethics, and that we are serving the short-term and the long-term interests of our ratepayers. By changing the position to appointed, you upset that direct accountability to the people who put you in office, because you look over your shoulder. You say, well, would this annoy one person or another, and could I be pulled out of office? Because that's the downside of being appointed. You can also be unappointed with the same speed. If you have any other questions, I mean, I've gone on for a short time, but I think I've made some of the main points about the value of remaining independent. Yes, sir.
So, the way you're set up now, you're regulated as to how much you can bill in any given year, and there's a whole process of doing that.
There is.
Does that change if this were to be approved?
No.
Or would it still go the same way?
Well, if it was appointed, then it would not be an independent board. The enterprise accounting may or may not be retained, so you wouldn't have necessarily that visibility. But one of the things that, let's see, there was an amendment to, it was a special sessions legislative session at the state level last year that sought to strengthen the power of the independent water and sewer boards, because historically the utilities had been used as kind of a piggy bank for other town projects. And so by making it appointed, what that implies along with all of that is that you no longer have the powers of or the responsibilities codified in the law of an independent water and sewer commission. You again become absorbed into the town, and what's mine is,
So the funding would
It-
kind of commingle at that
you would lose
point?
that visibility.
I was going to ask that question.
No, it won't.
Okay.
If the board is appointed, you're still under the same DOR guidelines, Department of Revenue guidelines for enterprise accounts. In the town where I live, we don't have a water and sewer commission. We have a DPW department, and it's governed by the Board of Selectmen, but they still have to separate out trash, water, sewer. They're all enterprise accounts, and they're all under the same guidelines. You can't commingle. Equipment that's bought by the water department can't be given to the highway department. It all has to be separated out, just like it is now.
And so I would infer that to raise rates or whatever would be the same process as it is today then? Or would it be different?
It would be the same process. You would look at what projects you have coming up that have to be funded, your regular operating expenses, plus if you have projects that have to be funded, and you have projections over so many years, so you know what the rates have to be to meet all those projections. And then the state, as Diane was saying, the state reviews, and if they see that you're raising too much money, they're going to come down on you. If you're not raising enough, obviously you're in trouble too. But if you're raising too much, you just can't build up an enormous piggy bank. The state would come down on you if you don't have a reason for that.
Okay, because I used to lend to a water company, and I know they used to have to show 3 years of operating budget and this, that, and the other thing, and present it to the state with projections and whatnot.
Right.
This is why we want to raise your rates, 20%.
Yep.
Something like that.
Yep.
So it'd be the same thing.
Yep.
Again, I just want to ask the town manager, do you have a current job description with qualifications that you'd be using as a guide to appoint members?
Have we developed a job description yet? No. Obviously, we'd wait to see we'd have a year to develop a job description before it went up for a ballot vote, so we'd wait and see what would happen at town meeting.
The only problem I have is that listening to you, it seems like if we appoint somebody, everything is going to self-destruct, it'll implode. We get the worst water and everybody in town, if you took a poll right now, I don't know how you people got reelected, even though I know it's not your fault that we have bad water. But if I was to point at anybody that we have bad water, who am I going to point at? You have to point at the people who we elected to run the Water Sewer Commission, right? Of
course.
So
But
you're
are
standing there,
you-
wait a minute.
Okay.
Can I finish?
Sure.
You're standing there telling us all the great things that the water commissioners have done, yet we have by far, I've been in town 50 years, people used to come to our town to get water to bring to their town, okay? Now we couldn't give our water away, yet we're paying for it, okay? So I wouldn't put that in the top 10 accomplishments for the elected water commissioners. But that being said, knowing it's not your fault, that being said, I don't see why everything will just implode if it becomes an appointed position. That's almost to say that the selectmen would appoint 3 incompetents, yet the town could in fact elect 3 incompetents very easily, okay? Go down the line, if someone wanted to spend 11 hours a month or 12, whatever you spend, just for the fun of it, and say, gee, I think I want to be a water commissioner. I mean, they have to have a life, obviously. But if they did that, okay, anybody could be elected water commissioner, right? That's a fact. Anybody could be elected. I could run for water commissioner, because people laugh at me, but I could be elected water commissioner. And I have no experience. All I know is you turn the faucet on, and hopefully something comes out, okay? But the bottom line is still, that's the only problem I have is thinking that everything will implode if, in fact, we go to appointed.
Well, I didn't want to imply that everything
Well,
would
that's
would
the impression I
implode,
got, that,
right?
because you're doing
I'm-
such a great financial job, that
Right.
appointed people couldn't do the same thing.
I am not saying that. So if I could do 2 things. One is we live in town too. I have the same horrible brown water comes out of my faucet as does yours, and I have heard, believe me, it's a painful experience to go door to door collecting signatures for your nomination papers and having to explain why we don't have the nicest water in the area, because I've also heard that years ago people did come to Norton because it had the best water. We have been working on, have funded a water treatment facility. This effort has started, I would say, close to 5 years ago. We are in the final stages. The construction of that plant has been delayed again and again, and there's nothing. I don't care if you were appointed, elected, anointed, whoever you are, we have been thwarted at every turn by various regulatory procedures, right, relating to the possibility of archaeological effects. We have looked for other sites. We've had to document why or why not alternatives are good and are no good. We have designed the plant, moved the plant, redesigned the plant, relocated the plant within the second site to accommodate these archaeological or potential archaeological features. All of these things have taken time and money, and it's extremely disheartening and frustrating when week after week after week it looks like the 21-day appeal period will expire and we'll be able to go ahead. And again and again, it has not. We are at the point, just again, for everybody out there who is as beside themselves over this as I am, looking into what options we have to go ahead as is, just how much trouble can we get into. We are at that point in the process where obviously working with the state agencies is futile. It might be better to pay a fine and move on, because every day we waste It costs us time, and you can't do excavation during the winter. And so we're actually in jeopardy of losing it for yet another, postponing it even further into the future. So I'm completely with all of this, and I want the message there to be, though, that this board has been working on this problem literally for years. We were supposed to get some mitigation from the desalinization plant that was in Brockton, and the federal government did not allow us to connect the Brockton plant to Norton, so that option is gone. We are also talking to Taunton right now to see if we can get, at least on an emergency basis, access to their water supply, which has a huge number of its own difficulties because they use different treatment chemicals and the pH of their water is different. And it can create a host of additional problems that we don't anticipate, or we can't predict until we actually study that. So we're looking at short-term solutions as well as long-term solutions. And yes, we're beyond frustrated at this. Now, to your other point, though, about could you elect someone who's unqualified? Perhaps. This is a kind of a heavy-duty board, with the regulations and so forth. But it's a policy-setting board, and so someone who understands budgets and someone who's willing to learn the regulations and kind of the framework in which you have to work can certainly become an effective member of the board. What my point I was making before is that you kind of have to want it if you're going to be elected. If you're appointed, you can be kind of pulled aside and said, hey, we've got an opening on this board. How would you like to give it a shot? And it's a slightly easier thing to say yes to and then drop off when it turns out to be a kind of a heavier load to lift. And we've seen that with some of the turnover in the board over the past couple of years, that not everybody enjoys spending 12 hours a month listening to water and sewer measures. And if you're elected, you find out sooner whether somebody is qualified or not, just because you have to work a little bit in order to get your name out there and to talk to the newspaper, and you get interviewed, and people are pretty smart. Anybody who served on a jury, I think, is usually pleasantly surprised at how reasoned and good a randomly selected jury of random people can be to decide a trial. And this is a similar thing, that people rise to the occasion if they're tested a little bit to do it.
Further questions? All right. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
John, well, while you're up, could we do the 12 and 13 as well, the water on it?
Stay here if they got questions. The other two articles are Article 12 and 13. You already had the Water and Sewer Department here talking to you about their budgets. This is just the format for the enterprise budgets. Article 12 is the water budget, and you can see that there's 4 items in the budget. The personnel services, which is salaries, $736,441. Indirect expenses, is everyone aware what indirect expenses are? That's costs that they pay, the water department contributes towards services that are provided by the town. It's all based on what percentage of the town budget their budget is for certain services, but health insurance, life insurance, things like that, they pay fully whatever the cost is directly. Other charges and expenditures, that's all their expenses, $1,119,450, and debt service, $1,070,605. Total water department budget of $3,330,026.
Okay. Article 13?
Article 13 is the sewer department, which obviously is much smaller than the water department because there's only a certain percentage. What's the percentage about?
We've got about, I think, 1,800 sewer
Okay.
users as opposed to 6,500-ish water.
And same thing, same four items. Personnel services, $156,568. The indirect expenses, $69,831. Other charges and expenditures, $927,800. And debt service, $183,955, for a total budget of $1,338,154.
I just have a quick question. 2017, on the water side, appropriate personnel services, is kind of a spike in that, and then back down. Is that just, what is that for? Like, is that just,
Could it have
It,
been, we had
ma-
a workman's comp?
Yeah, I think that probably is what it was. We had someone who was out, injured, who was getting some money, and we also had to replace that person at the same time.
I just know when the opposite is back.
And that has been settled, so we didn't have that this year.
Paul?
Two questions. I presume that in the sewer, the whole business of the payment for the sewage of Winnicott that we did some time ago and was excluded, it was excluded, it's still excluded from this, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and my other question is, are the personnel in sewer and water totally separate now, or do we have people who are being paid from both?
I think the superintendent obviously is a percentage of both budgets.
Yes.
Is there anyone else?
No,
that-
we do. Because it's a small staff, they are trained in both water and sewer, which enables us to get the 24-hour on-call ability.
So there still is the mix, okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Any further questions? Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dan. Do you want to continue with the articles that we have listed?
Yes. Article-
The next article is Article 15, which is capital requests. The Capital Improvement Committee has voted to recommend to you that what you have in your packet tonight. And I'll just go through these for you. The first item is under data processing.
Hang on.
Okay, go ahead. Let me know when you all find it.
Okay.
Got it. Where did you find it? It was in the packet. In that packet.
In this packet, okay, sorry, the wrong packet.
You know,
Are you ready? Oh, you can, yeah.
Okay. The first item is $15,183 for data processing. Our wireless access system has used up its useful life, and we need to upgrade. And this would be for the town hall, fire, and police. And the total cost for that is $15,183. Next item, under conservation, as you may know, down at the Chartley Dam, we have a sinkhole that's opened up, and this $58,000 will be to do the design and permitting of repairs to repair that wall. Then municipal building up, and we'll hold off on that until maybe the fall. But I will I had a woman in here the other day, a woman from Elm Street, and she was 86 years old. You never would know this woman was 86 years old. She was in unbelievable shape. And she came in and she said, "You the town manager? I need to talk to you. I was just in the town clerk's office. There were like 4 or 5 people working in that little tiny space. This is unhealthy. It's not fit. This building is a disaster, and something should be done about it. And if you need help with that, I'm your girl." And she said, "If you see protesting out front someday, I'm your girl. I'm out there protesting."
She had her $11 million.
She was a spitfire. Then Police Department, 210. The chief requested 3 vehicles. We try and do 3 vehicles every year, but we're able to do 2 right now, and then we'll see in the fall if we have the ability to put some more money in capital and purchase the other one. We try and keep up with the constant replacement of the vehicles. It's a lot cheaper to replace them than it is to keep repairing them as they get older and older.
We went through this before.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And the ones that we when we replace them, we auction off the other ones. We don't hold on to them.
Chairman? Just a question, Mike. On average, how many miles are put on a police cruiser in a year?
In a year, I bet you're getting easily $70,000. I mean, they're 70,000 miles. I mean, they're going all the
There's a
time.
lot of idle time, too.
Right. That's the worst part. Yeah. And when you hear them pull out of the parking lot over here, the next item he has is replacing some of his radios to keep them upgraded, and that would be $17,000 to replace the radios. The fire department, the first item is $360,000 to replace the ambulance. We have the money in our ambulance fund. We build the fund up so that when we need an ambulance, we're paying cash for the ambulance. So that would come out of the ambulance fund.
So this is just a one-year purchase.
Right. And the next item is,
So we're gonna do it all in 1 year.
what's that?
Usually we've done,
Was so expensive.
usually we've done it in 3 years, 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, it's the ambulance and with the stretcher set up, so it's all, the stretchers themselves, I think, are 10, 15,000 at least.
It's a lot cheaper to buy it that way than years.
The next thing is a utility truck, which will replace a vehicle that they have right now, and that's 65,000. This would be so they can use it out off the road. Squad 1, this is a last payment of 5 on that fire engine, 75,000. Turnout gear, 18 sets, 49,500. We've been slowly trying to replace all the sets. And the Red Alert dispatch software, 55,000. This is a software upgrade that will allow the town to have the reverse 911 and have almost like a GIS where they'll know certain homes, what the issues are in those homes when they head to the homes. People that may have certain illnesses that they have to be aware of. And then the schools, they're same thing as the police. They've been trying to replace their outdated and very old special education vans. And this will be the second year. We did one last year, and this will be another one this year. $35,683. And as you know, probably know, there were some issues with the fixtures in the schools with copper and lead. And so 25,000 would be used to begin a program to replace those fixtures that need to be replaced.
Oh, do you know how severity of the threat to, of the copper pipes or the lead repairs and all?
How severe is the threat? Well, if you ask me, I know I never drank the water out of it, the bubbler at school. I don't know who drinks that water anyways. But it is a concern, especially with the younger kids. So it is something that they have to address.
And does the 25,000 do it soup to nuts, or is that just the beginning of a?
That was just a beginning. The 25,000 won't cover everything, but it's a beginning. There's only so much they can get done in a. The next item is at the Yell School. They need to install new interior ribs on a boiler there, $13,000. And then down at the Norton Middle School, continuing a program that we started last year, $65,000. They're trying to remove all the carpet and replace it with tile. We haven't been able to get on the MSBA program to replace the roof yet, so we want to get the carpet that gets wet out of there and replace it with tiles rather than the carpet. Over the years, the carpet, not a good idea in a school building to put carpet in there. So this is a program that they've started and slowly are moving through the whole building. And then they have an issue with a fire panel at the middle school that needs to be replaced, and so we felt that was a very urgent need, and that's $39,000.
Did they install anything in that school that would last?
But the middle
I
school?
mean, a fire panel. I mean, how do you mess that up?
I know.
That's our albatross.
Well, the middle school, when was the middle school?
1998.
98?
Say 6, but it's 8.
I don't know, it's a fire panel.
2008. It's been almost 20 years, so.
Yeah. It's still the youngest, it's the youngest school in our whole school complex.
Yeah,
Has any other
We
school
spent
ever
more money
replaced
on
a
it.
fire
Exception
panel?
I don't know, to be honest.
Oh, yeah, but that's, but
yes,
yes, the youngest one.
I know it's not.
Then also at the middle school is the wastewater plant that's at the middle school. They've been the school department's been under orders from the DEP to do something. The plant isn't meeting the standards, and one of the requests of DEP is that they hire an engineer to look at the plant and see what they need to do to bring that into compliance, and that's what the $32,000 is. Hopefully, we don't have to spend that money, because the hope is that, too bad water and sewer left, that they extend the sewer line down Main Street, and that we're able to tie the middle school into the sewer, along with the housing authority who's having issues with their on-site system, and get out of the business of running our own treatment plant. So Water and Sewer is having that studied right now, so hopefully that'll be the solution. And then Highway, he has 3 that are payments of vehicles we already own, and one is a 1-ton dump truck replacement for $50,000. And then the other 3 are payments for the backhoe. It will be the 3rd year of a 5-year payment program, $28,000. The sweeper will be the last payment on the sweeper that we bought 5 years ago, $48,834. And then payment 3 of 5 on a 2.5-ton 6-wheeler with a plow. And that'll be $31,000. And then the water department had 3 items, and as we were talking about earlier, the water department, this would come out of their water budget. This isn't out of the capital fund, but they do have to come to capital and present. Vacuum and valve actuator machine, $72,000. 8-ton hauling trailer, $11,000. And they're doing a master plan right now, and that'll be $50,000 towards the master plan. So the total for the water projects is $133,000. The total out of capital would be $669,200, and the total out of ambulance would be $467,000. So as you can see down the bottom, the 133 for water comes out of water surplus retained earnings. And the total would be, of all expenses, would be $1,269,200. We're fortunate this year that we have money in capital to take care of these items in May, rather than the past years having to wait till October. Any other questions on?
No, all set.
Just, may I?
Oh, yeah, sorry, Paul.
Maybe a little, I've just been going back and looking at, there is a discrepancy in the final total, so I went back to find out what you hadn't recommended that the capital improvements did. And I found them. Do you want to comment a little bit more on why you didn't recommend them, but why capital improvements did?
Okay.
I think the first one is the copper and lead.
To be honest with you, I think the issue there was I think I was not at that meeting. So I wasn't able to, at that time,
You weren't able to present your piece.
Right.
Well-
And then I attended the next meeting and I agreed with the committee recommendations. Should have changed mine also, but,
Okay. Is the same true for the rebuilt boiler at the L school?
Correct.
Or the fire panel?
yeah, I wasn't there when the school committee presented that night.
Okay, so you came around to their point
I
of
do
view.
agree, yes.
Okay, that's what I needed to know, thank you.
Mike, I have a question. We parked $100,000 someplace to do something for the schools.
Still there.
Okay, was that for the roof? Was that in case we were going to get the
In
approval?
case we got approval from the MSBA for the middle school
So
roof.
that money's still out there and never land.
It's waiting.
It's in the cloud.
To show it's earnest money.
Earnest money. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The next article is Article 7, which is Chapter 40B, Legal Fund. We haven't had to put money in there in a few years now, but we are down to $4,000. And we do have another project that may be coming back, and that's Turtle Crossing. Just to give you an update on the Turtle Crossing project. Turtle Crossing was approved back in 2008, and it was approved as a typical 40B, where 25% of the units would be affordable, and we would get, I think, 168 units out of that, counting towards our 10%. Because all the apartment units, if 25% are affordable in an apartment project, they're all considered affordable. They all count towards our count. That's the way the state does it, like 274 East Main, same thing. Well, this has languished and languished, and the state keeps giving them extensions and extensions. But if they don't, after the first 2 years, we lose it as being counted towards our 10%. It's kind of a crazy system. You would think if the state gives them an extension, they should also count it towards our 10%, but they don't. So it won't be counted towards our 10% until they pull a permit. And they're saying now that they can't get financing, and they want to do it as 58% affordable instead of 25%. And the only benefit to us is we get to count it if they build it towards our 10%. But if they do 25% affordable, we get to count them all. If they do 58%, we still just get to count them all. So, so they're looking at different ways to finance this. They say they can sell tax credits if it's 58% affordable. So I think it's going to be a complicated process, and we'll see what happens. Right now, we are at 8% So we still have a ways to go to get to our 10%. And what I would recommend is putting $10,000 into the fund.
Would that be from free cash, Mike?
What's that?
That would be from free cash?
Actually, I would do it raise and appropriate. Because if we go, there's another article for trees later on. This and that would be 35,000. And based on our proposed budget right now, we'd still have 50-something thousand on the bottom line to hold until the fall in case something comes up. Any questions on the 40B?
Nope.
All right. The next article is Article 5, Tree Service. This has been helpful over the years, and Keith's done a great job with this. This is when we have to call in a tree service company to handle larger trees, trees near wires. Our workers are not allowed to go near electric wires. And 25,000 is what I'm recommending. We did the same last year, and I know Keith only has 7,000 left, and he's about ready to get back out there after the winter weather that we had. There's a few trees that he's got to take care of, and it's something that we have to keep working on. It's become an issue after those storms we had a few years ago.
Also RNA,
What's that?
also raise and appropriate?
It would be, yes.
Are we still getting the utility companies to come in and do tree work
They are.
every year?
Yep. They've been proactive the last 3 years anyways.
I know. But that's continuing.
It
That is continuing.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, good.
The next three articles are all bylaw, the needs that resulted from the Massachusetts Municipal Modernization Act. And the first one is Article 18, which is bylaw for performance deposits. This is when a project comes to town and we hire someone to review the project. Right now, that the state is requiring under the new guidelines that this is all under Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53G and a half, and they're requiring that we adopt this as an ordinance or a bylaw, and it will create separate accounts for a deposit of any financial guarantee to secure performance of any obligation of an applicant as a condition of a license, permit, or other approval or authorizations.
Questions?
Just explain that in a little more English or something.
Yeah.
Like, give me an example.
I don't know why it was part of a Municipal Modernization Act that was supposed to make our job easier, but, so, and also as part of this, which we don't have to do, it's become law. In the past, under 4453G, you could the only board that could actually do this was the planning board. So Water and Sewer had come to us before, seeing if they could require a 40B project to pay for them to hire an engineer to review a project and put money into a performance account, and we couldn't. But now we can set them up. Once we accept this bylaw, planning, Board of Health, conservation, zoning, whoever issues a permit is going to oversee a project can now have a fund set up.
And what's the fund used for? I guess that's my question.
It would be used for if someone, like 274 East Main Street, if they're building the project and we have money that we've held aside because it was a planning board project, until that road is finished.
Oh, okay.
And if they don't build it to spec, we can use the money to do that. And also, we use it to hire an engineer to oversee and review each phase of the project. So when there's someone there when they're laying pipe, to go and oversee it, make sure it's being done the right way.
So it's not just money they put in that they don't get back, they know that they're not gonna get all of it.
Right, yep.
In this account we're setting, is it a single account that we use for all of these things, or do you establish a separate account
You would
for each project?
You would establish separate accounts for each
For each
project.
project, so,
Because you have to keep track of any
Yeah,
interest you make, and
okay. Wasn't clear to me from looking at
Yep.
this.
Other questions? Okay.
and the next bylaw is under Article 17. And this is for our revolving funds. And I don't know what, and the accountants are all asking this question now. They don't know why they put this in as a requirement. We do it right now. But now they're requiring us to establish a bylaw or ordinance for expenditure limits that'll be set annually, which we do right now, on revolving funds. So we have a series of revolving funds that are listed in the article. So this requires us to adopt this statute so that we continue to do what we're doing right now, but. In each year, you still have to vote the funding limits like you do now, so,
And if we want to add one, we just add one.
right, exactly.
Any questions? Okay, thank you.
The next bylaw is under license and permit denials. This is a new amendment that was part of this legislation also. Right now, we can't deny a permit.
What number is it?
Article, 19. And hopefully we don't change, hopefully the numbers, we took some articles out today. I think there's only one that may, the pilot one that may not go forward, but maybe we'll leave it there so we don't mess up the numbers. So right now, if someone pulls a building permit, say, as an example, to put an addition on their house, and they're 12 months or more behind in any payments, tax payments, for example, we can deny the issuance of the permit until they either pay the taxes or set up a payment plan that the town treasurer collector would approve. And she could issue a letter stating they set up a payment plan, I'm comfortable they can do it, and then we would issue the permit. Under this new law, there is no 12-month requirement, so if someone hasn't paid their last 2 quarters of their taxes, we could deny them the permit.
We can revoke the permit, so if it's gotten the permit, we can revoke it, or?
You wouldn't be able to revoke a permit that was already issued, but you could,
It just says denial, revocation, or suspension of local licenses.
yeah, well, a license would be
So, local license.
a liquor license or something like that.
Well, it says not less than 12 months, and you said 2 quarters. I mean, could you do it even after 1 quarter if they missed?
You could. And I'm sure we're not going to be ruthless with people, but just make people aware of it, and then have them go to the treasurer, and the treasurer has to sign off before anyone can get a permit. Has to sign off that they're current on their taxes.
Any further questions?
One more. So, you have crossed out for not less than a 12-month period, is that the town's law?
Right now,
State is, or-
right now, the state law was a 12-month period, and now that's coming out.
And that's coming out, and we're just gonna adopt the state law.
Right.
That's what's going on.
Our law is the current state law. Yep. The one, and we're amending it, you know.
One article for special?
Yeah, we just have one right now, $38.58. Prior year's expense for the police department for, under, it was some maintenance. It was just a bill that came in late, and this would just be paid under their current expense budget, but it's a prior year bill, so town meeting has to approve that.
Any questions? All right, thank you.
And we have an issue with looking for a transfer request. Back, it's kind of in the middle of your packet, right after the budget. You have a couple pages of history of the reserve fund transfers, and then a request. And this came up, the town accountant has to purchase an upgrade on his Zobrio software, which is our accounting software, by the end of the month, or it's going to be $7,000 more. And he went and actually got the funds put in October to buy the $30,000 to buy the upgrade. And during the year, as emergencies came up with equipment at the police or fire department, and the communications director was purchasing equipment, she thought she had plenty of money, but the reason she had plenty of money was because she was using the money that was set aside for the Zobrio upgrade. And just recently, the town accountant was getting ready to purchase his software, and was a little upset when he found out that he didn't have the funds that he needed, that he went and got back in the fall. So we're looking for a reserve fund transfer of $30,000 so he can purchase this before the end of the month and get the $7,000 discount that.
No, she obviously, she had access to that money, obviously, so.
It was in, because it was put into the, this account. Because that's what, any computer, equipment, programs, everything is paid out of this account.
That's the computer equipment account. Okay, good.
Okay.
Is there a way in the future to kind of like earmark so it's kind of restricted?
Yes, there is. And I'm sure that the accountant will make sure of that
Part of the upgrade.
in the future.
Do I have a motion? Paul?
I'm just curious, this is the time of year now until June when we've mostly gotten reserve transfer requests. I don't know what we heard something about, I can't even remember last week, something about an emergency thing that had happened, I believe, Tom, thinking
At
the
the
school.
school. At the school, yep.
Yeah, something where, and it was like something that was really an unforeseen emergency, that they at least indicated they might be coming to us for. I'm just concerned about how much draw we could anticipate from this fund. We've got 150, we really haven't tabbed it at all this year.
Right.
Are you comfortable that there's still enough left in there?
I am. I don't
You don't
anticipate.
anticipate things?
Certain things that, you know, we would see, like legal, we have 44,000 left in our legal account. You know, and most of the other stuff we usually take care of with reserve fund, I mean, not reserve fund, transfers at the end of the year in between budgets.
We do it one way or the other,
Right.
yeah.
So,
So you're, overall,
yes.
you're comfortable with
Yes.
this? Okay.
Want to take care of this, Mike?
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we transfer from the FinCom reserve the amount of $30,000 into account number 001-155-570-5850.
Second.
Motion second. Any further discussion? Questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That's unanimous.
Did you want to go over any of the budgets?
Yeah, I was, yeah, anyone who has the updated budget shows the accounts that we've already voted on. And if we could just go through and try to vote on the ones that we haven't voted on yet. It should go pretty quickly. And could I ask the Vice Chair to just to keep the flow going, you could just make the motion and
Yeah, this way.
go
we
right
keep the
through.
Same person.
Okay. Mr. Chairman,
Rick?
I move that we appropriate $248,203, Department 147 Treasure Collector.
Come on.
Where are you?
Oh,
You missed a page.
you don't want to stop.
Yeah, there's a new one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Want to start at 122? Budget 122? Is she here? Yeah. You should. You cover the first page.
Oh, I'm sorry, there it is.
That's okay. This way we can,
Oh, yeah,
is that
okay.
what you want to do, Mike? I'm just
Yep.
going that sequence?
Yes.
Yeah.
yes,
okay.
please.
Mr. Chairman,
Rick.
I propose that we move $33,260 to Department 122 Board of Selectmen.
These have to be broken out salary and expenses.
Oh, does it? Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Personal Services, 510, in the amount of $30,135. Personal Services, Board of Selectmen, Department 122.
Second?
Motion is second. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous.
And the amount of $3,125 to 122, Department 570.
Second.
Charges, expenses.
Motion is second. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous.
Mr. Chairman,
Rick.
move and appropriate the amount of $254,625 to the town management
That's whenever there's a split with two.
Two-thirds, right. All right.
to 510, excuse me. Move Personal Services, Town Manager, Department 123, Department 510, the amount of $237,275.
Second?
Motion is second. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous.
And in the amount of $17,350 in the Department of Town Manager 123, Department 570.
Second?
Motion is second. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, move in the amount of $1,310, Department Finance Committee 131
Already
charges.
did that.
I think we already did that.
We already,
We did that one and the one after it.
okay. Town Accountant,
Got it.
okay. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move the amount of $189,238, Department Town Accountant 135, Department 510.
Second?
This motion is second. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous.
And the amount of $25,000 in Town Accountant, Department 520.
Second?
Motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous.
And lastly, Department 570, again, Town Accountant, in the amount of $4,275.
Second?
Motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move the amount of $143,741 to the assessors of 141, Department 510, Personal Services.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, move assessors 141, Department 570, charges expenditures in the amount of $42,181.
Second?
Motion is second. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous.
Treasurer Collector, Department 147, Department 510, Personal Services, approve the amount of $197,000 and 503, 197,503.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed?
Abstain.
One abstention.
Again, Treasurer Collector 147, Department 570, charges and expenditures in the amount of $50,700.
Second?
This motion is second. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstaining? One abstention.
Mr. Chairman, move in the amount of $70,000, legal services. Oh, we did that. Oh, yeah, here we are. Right here.
Yeah.
Data processing. Mr. Chairman, move Department Data Processing 155, Department 510, I guess that would be a...
Zero.
No,
570.
yeah, 570 in the amount of $190,500.
Second?
This motion is second. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous.
Town Clerk, Department 161, Department 510 in the amount of $121,989.
Second?
This motion is second. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous.
Department 511, Salary Elected Official.
No.
Nope.
It's done.
Nope.
And Department 570, Charges and Expenditures, Town Clerk, $7,910.
Second?
This motion is second. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstaining?
I was in favor. I just didn't raise it fast enough.
Oh, okay. I'm watching, believe it or not.
Conservation Commission, 171, Department 510, move forward to approve $92,990.
Second?
Motion is second. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous.
Department 570, Charges and Expenditures, in the amount of $9,750.
Second?
There's motion is second. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, Planning Board, 175, Department 510, Personnel Services, amount of $88,753.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous.
Department 570, Charges and Expenditures, in the amount of $2,950.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, move forward the amount of $3,400, Southeastern Regional Planning and Economic Development, Department 560.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, Department Municipal Buildings and Maintenance, 192, Department 570, in the amount of $234,100.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous.
Chairman, Police Department, Department 510, Personal Services, move to approve the amount of $3,016,393.
Mr. Chairman?
Bill?
I have a question, and it pertains to police, fire, and I think police and fire at least. If you look into the individual budgets, you have like 500, 400,000 in overtime. At what point does it make sense to hire more people? You will never eliminate the overtime, which I understand. But when it's 500,000, 600,000, at some point, more people make more sense.
I don't know what the break even is, but I know there's more to consider. There's health insurances and.
Well,
Yeah, I know, but I understand what you're saying.
And we've slowly been trying to do that. We just recently hired police officers, and last year, we hired firefighters. The chief was looking for some more this year, but
Right.
we just didn't have. But we've gotten to a point now with police and fire that we have enough that if one person is out, we don't have to replace them right away, where in the past we did. So the overtime has started to go down a little bit, and it will start to go down. Like fire right now, they could have 8 on a shift, and if 2 are out sick, we wouldn't have to bring someone in. We could go with 6. And same with police, they may have 6 on a shift, and if 1 calls out, they could go with 5. They may not replace that 1, but they can't go below that. So we are getting to a point now where we don't have to replace every time someone is out sick or on vacation. So slowly you will see something going down in the overtime. Like you said, you're not always going to get rid of it because someone gets hired, they've got, holidays and sick days and bereavement and,
I don't expect it to ever be
Right.
0.
right.
But when it's 500,000 or 600,000, there's got to be a case
Yep.
where adding a person or 2 cuts that in half.
Right.
I don't know.
Do I have a second?
I'll second, but needed to ask the question.
Any further discussion?
Chairman, just one more comment to what he's added. In my experience over the years, the biggest problem with overtime has been when we've had somebody in that department out with injury
Right.
for a lengthy period of time, and that's where it adds up like crazy. And that's where if we have these slightly larger shifts, which I think we've just about gotten to now.
Yes.
Because I can remember when we had 6 out for police, and the minute one, or particularly for fire, when the minute one was out, we immediately had to replace them in one way or another, particularly with fire rescue, when you've got 2 people on each ambulance. You gotta have somebody beyond 4 people on a shift. So I just think that injury can be the thing that really whacks up the overtime if you have
But-
severe sickness or injury.
But if we're getting to that point of filling it,
Okay.
then you should see
You
the
begin-
overtime
yes.
coming down
We have,
Mike?
to a
Well,
point.
if you look,
we've consistently dropped it.
if you look at the budget under police, expended in overtime in 2015 was 453,000. In 2016, 426,000. And his FY18 request is 414,000. So you're seeing the gradual drop in the overtime as a result of hiring.
Tom, do you want something?
No, he answered the question. I was going to say that.
Okay. Motion and a second. No. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous?
Mr. Chairman, Police Department, Police 210, Department 570, charges and expenditures in the amount of $199,250.
Second?
Motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstaining? Unanimous?
Mr. Chairman, move in the amount approved, Fire Department, Personal Services, Department 510, move to approve the amount of $3,493,703.
Second?
Motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous?
Fire Department, Department 570, charges and expenditures, move in the amount of $187,200.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous?
Emergency Medical Services, 230. Department 570, charges and expenditures. Move to approve in the amount of $108,400.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous?
Emergency Planning, 240. Department 570, charges and expenditures. Move to approve in the amount of $7,150.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous?
Inspection Department, 241. Personal Services Department, 510. Move to approve, move forward in the amount of $158,396.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous?
Department 570, charges and expenditures. Inspection Department, the amount of $11,825.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous?
Communication Center, Department 510. Personal Services, move forward to approve in the amount of $611,115.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous?
Charges and expenditures, Department 570, move in the amount of $135,225.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous?
Mr. Chairman, Animal Control, 292, Department 510, Personal Services, move to approve the amount of $50,757.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous?
Animal Control, Department 570, charges and expenditures, move to approve $10,885.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous?
Okay. School Department,
This is just one number.
one number, okay, so, School Department, move forward to approve in the amount of $27,105,655.
Second?
Motion to second. I'll ask, any discussion or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous?
Southeastern Regional Vocational School, 306, Department 560, under assessments, move to approve in the amount of $996,390.
Second?
There's a motion to second. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous?
Bristol County Regional Agricultural School, move forward in the Department of 560, under assessments, again for the town, in the amount of $28,755.
Second?
Motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous?
Mr. Chairman, Highway, 420, Department 510, Personal Services, move to approve in the amount of $659,123.
Second?
This motion is second. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous?
Department 570, charges and expenditures, approve in the amount of $99,150.
Second?
This motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous?
Highway 420, surface treatment, Department 580, in the amount of $8,000.
Second?
This motion is second. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous?
Repairs to private ways, Department 581, $1,000.
Second?
Motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous?
Chairman, snow removal, 423, charges and expenditures, Department 570. Move to approve in the amount of $80,000.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous?
Mr. Chairman, Board of Health, 510, Department 510, Personal Services. Move to approve in the amount of $137,497.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous?
Department 570, charges and expenditures, Board of Health. Move to approve in the amount of $8,425.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous?
Mr. Chairman, Public Health Nurse, 522. Move to approve in the amount of Personal Service, Department 510, the amount of $33,050.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous?
Public Health Nurse, Department 570, charges and expenditures. Move forward to approve $10,250.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous?
Mr. Chairman, Council on Aging, 541, Department 510, Personal Services. Move to approve in the amount of $55,744.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous?
Council on Aging, Department 570, charges and expenditures. Move to approve in the amount of $11,600.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous?
Mr. Chairman, Veterans Agent, 543, Personal Services, Department 510, move forward to approve $56,775.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous?
Veterans Agent, Department 570, charges and expenditures, move forward to approve $3,460.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous?
Department 579, Veterans Benefits, move to approve $230,000.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous?
Mr. Chairman, Library 610, Department 570, charges and expenditures, move to approve in the amount of $399,111.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous?
And departments, Recreation 630, Department 510, Personal Services, move forward to approve in the amount of $12,240.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous?
Department 570, charges and expenditures, move to approve in the amount of $11,000.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous?
Can I just ask one question on recreation? You realize that if the override doesn't go through, okay, we will not have a recreation department. That was made perfectly clear when they came before us. They either get the 44K or and I don't blame them.
I don't
Go
either.
home. That, I just want to just make that a note because that was exactly their position and, so, whatever. We can somehow scrape up some money to augment that department. If we cannot, we don't have a recreation department. At least not with the present people that we have there, because I don't blame them. They're kind of burned out working for nothing.
Mike?
Just a couple things. Last week, one of the members, he's not here tonight, but he was asking me why insurances, all our insurances, he said, those seem kind of important. Why do you put them under miscellaneous expense, 940 miscellaneous expense? And the reason we do that is because the accounts are set up by the state. The state, you know, we go by guidelines from the DOR. And the reason you have a miscellaneous account is because those insurances benefit all departments, so it's not in one department. So we have, under the miscellaneous, that and fuel, because the gasoline benefits all departments. So that's the only reason that they're in that. And just to,
Do we have to move one final number for the overall budget?
yes, you should.
In total. 53.
Mr. Chairman,
Rick?
I'd like to move forward to the town and the board in the amount for this fiscal year 18, recommended town operating budget of $53,760,398.
Second?
Motion is second. Any discussion? Further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed?
Yes. Assume that's a balanced number. I just assume that.
Well, we'll have
Or at least
50,
it's not over.
right,
We've still got something left.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I was.
yes.
Yeah.
And just if I could remind everyone that there's 2 forums scheduled on the override at the high school. One is Monday, April 3rd at 7 o'clock, and the other one is on Wednesday, April 12th at 7 o'clock. And just to give you an idea of the structure, as I mentioned at the Selectmen's meeting the other night, these aren't debates. We're there to provide people with answers if they have questions. And there was some concern that we were trying to stifle democracy because we said that people will be able to come up to the podium and ask a question, but they'll be limited to 3 minutes. You know, if somebody wants to have a debate and they want to talk a long time about their side of things, I suggested that they contact the cable studio and see if they'll have a debate for them on TV. We're not there to debate the situation. We're there to give people facts and figures. And, you know, hopefully everyone is civil, and we'll try and tell people no cheering, no clapping, no booing. People that are for shouldn't be upset when people that are opposed speak, and it's this other way around. Everyone's very passionate about what they believe, but just act civilly, state your point, and
What are the 2 days again?
April 3rd and 12th.
Where are they?
High school?
At the high school, 7 o'clock.
I would suggest one bit of information you have available to people is a series of housing values, a chart
Right.
of 100, 150,
Just one over.
We have
how
that.
much you pay now and how much it's gonna go up.
I have that, I can email it to any of you that,
I'm just saying like at
Yeah.
that forum, because that's where
Yeah.
people will see, that's what my house is worth. Here's what's gonna go up for me,
Yeah.
at least.
we have one now that goes from 250 to 900,000, so. If your house is worth more than 900,000, you should be able to afford it.
You're over 900,000, you care about it. It's like owning a yacht. You have to worry about the gas, you don't own the yacht. The only-
There's an,
Is this the wish list? Is this basically the back of this, the wish list?
Right.
Of what the people, and I'm looking down the wish list, and even if it goes through, in the event it does go through, that still doesn't fund the recreation department. That still leaves them about $20,000 short. So, that's the only question I have. They're a, strictly with the
stipends we give them, they're basically running with nobody being paid, really. So, okay,
And
that's my say.
the other question on the override people have is thinking that there's two bites at the apple. If the ballot question on April 25th, if the ballot question fails, then I've told people the Finance Committee will be bringing forward the budget that you just voted now.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, if the ballot question passes on April 25th, then you can bring forward a budget, which would be the B budget, that would have that included. There's no article on the warrant that says override. The override vote is at the ballot box. Then it has to be, you have to approve a budget. Now, at town meeting, people could vote against the higher budget if they chose, but you can't vote for a higher budget if it's defeated at town meeting, because then we wouldn't have a balanced budget, and we wouldn't be able to start operating on July 1, would be
If the B budget is approved, we have to vote to recommend that as well, correct?
Correct.
So if the election, if it's positive, we have to go through the entire budget again?
Actually,
Well, we can prepare that in advance. I'll bring that back to you before, probably for one of your last meetings, I'll bring that to you.
And this committee doesn't have to recommend the B budget, it can recommend the A budget, so it's at our, it's our
and also it'd only
recommendation.
be certain things that would be affected. It would be every
Right.
account
Right.
that we have to go through.
Right.
Just be those wish lists.
Yeah.
So the attendance for those meetings might be greater than what we're used to.
Oh, yeah. Maybe.
I just want to bring something up. One of the new members, Walter Eichel, he actually attended an Association of Town Finance Committee seminar.
Yeah.
And it was back in October, and it cost him $45, and just see if we could, yeah,
Yes,
out of our account. Currently, there's $1,074 in that account, and the
Absolutely.
amount of the bill is $45. And that's open to everyone. I mean, when they do announce them all, I'll push them out to everybody, but they're seminars that are, useful to everybody.
You want to vote?
Yeah.
For it? I make a motion to pay the $45 for the seminar attended by
Walter.
Welter.
Second.
There's more, any further discussion? All those in favor? Okay, that's unanimous.
Kudos for attending.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right,
Next meeting, April 10th?
yeah, there's no meeting next week.
Good.
And there's going to be the following schedule: Monday, April 10th, 7 o'clock. Wednesday, April 19th, that will also be our public hearing for the budget. And Monday, April 24th.
I will not be here on the 10th, so don't discuss anything important.
That's when we're gonna, that's the time to do it.
Paul, you got to cover for me on the 10th.
Okay, last item is, we have minutes for the meeting of March 15th. We could just review those, please. Thank you, Mike.
Absolutely, absolutely. And push it as something that's necessary, not that people jump into charter school. This is something we should do, should have.
We should be doing, please, in the state's gonna tell us we
Tell
have
us
to
we
do it
have
for
to do it.
pre-kinder, anyhow, we
You're
at
absolutely
least
right.
have to get that in.
I think so. If nothing else, we need that.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend that you approve the minutes of the meeting written of March 15, 2017.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Abstaining?
I abstain.
Okay.
Excuse me.
All right, does anyone have any business to bring forward? Seeing none,
Chairman, a motion to adjourn?
Second?
those Those in favor? Meeting's adjourned.